you?
Hello, I'm fine. How are you?
Great, thanks. It's really nice to meet you.
Yes, nice to meet you too.
Cool. So, you've recorded a really nice introduction for us, so I'm just gonna play it here.
Hey everybody, my name is Kamila and I'm from the Netherlands. I'm a language learner. I love learning languages and I'm sharing my passion with everybody who is following me on social media and on YouTube. I hope to inspire people to leave their comfort zones and practice consistently. And to give you an impression of which languages I'm able to speak and at what level I'm able to speak them, I'm going to introduce myself once again in the 6 other languages that I'm able to speak. Hola a todos, yo soy Kamila y yo soy de Holanda. Estou super animada por neste episódio de Polyglot Princesses. J'aime apprendre les langues parce que j'adore les gens des autres cultures. Dil öğrenen arkadaşlarıma yardımcı olmak istiyorum ve ilham vermek istiyorum. En daarom deel ik mijn voortgang op mijn social media profielen en op mijn YouTube kanaal. Du kunt mijn arbeid überprüfen bei Kamila Tekin. So I'm super excited to be in this episode. Let's start.
How long have you been interested in languages, and when did you decide to kind of put yourself online?
I think, when I was in high school, I was very good at learning languages. I got high marks for it, but it was not, at the level I wasn't as interested as I'm right at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
But after finishing university, I had more time to, do other stuff, and I thought it's always good to be busy and learn new things, and Spanish has always been a language that attracted my attention. So I started with learning Spanish, and then I noticed that it was really different than the way I learned languages in school. It was way more fun, and as I started meeting new people, native speakers, and learned more about their cultures, I thought this is definitely something that I should keep doing. So then I started with French, refreshing my French, refreshing my German, and by refreshing I mean these were the languages that I learned in high school,
Right.
And then I moved on with other languages. And the languages that I learned in high school were English, German, and French.
That's great. Wow, we don't really have so many language options in South Africa. I think you can only take one foreign language, and people don't really take
Really?
it seriously. Yeah, so we take English, one South African language, and one foreign language.
Okay.
Yeah. And when did you decide to start your blog and your Instagram and your YouTube?
That's a whole different story.
Yeah.
Because at some point in my life, I also had to improve my English.
Mm.
I know I'm from the Netherlands, and English is usually, Dutch people speak English very, very well usually.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was not like that. I always got high marks for it, but if someone would ask me something on the streets, a tourist, then I wouldn't know how to respond. I would be very shy, and I would be like, okay, don't ask me this question. I don't speak English.
Wow.
I wanted to enroll in the studies, and I had to prove that my English was at level C1, and I was like, okay, I can't even say something to a tourist, so let alone proving that I'm at level C1. So I really have to do something because I want to enroll in these studies. So I thought maybe if I start blogging about my passion for learning Spanish, and if I write this in English, then I can improve my English.
Cool.
So that's basically how it started. I would like to quit my job and focus more on language learning because this is something that I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, definitely. It's hard to do blogging and language stuff full-time online, so I take my hat off for you. That's awesome, and I wish you all the best of that.
Thank you.
In being sort of a public figure in the polyglot community, what would you say is the question you get the most from language learners?
How can I learn a language while going to school?
And
Because many people have to study languages for an exam, and I can imagine that, from my experience, it's really hard to, sometimes you don't know what to study, where to start, what exactly to do to get a good mark.
yes.
Just to be honest, everybody is like, okay, I have a test after 3 weeks, so I will start learning 3 weeks before my exam.
Mhm.
But in languages, it doesn't work like that. It's like a project. You have to really plan out what you're going to do step by step, and you have to work on it every single day because it's a skill. So if you know that you have an oral exam in English, you're not going to start 3 days before your exam because that's not how it works. And practice it for only 2 minutes every day. Record yourself for 2 minutes. It's almost nothing, but as long as you do something every day, you will be prepared in 3 weeks.
Yeah, consistency is key. I think
Yes.
a lot of people get so excited about learning a language and they get all the books and materials and they study for like 3 hours in one day, and then for the whole week they're like doing nothing. So I think it's better to just do a little bit each day instead of a lot and then doing nothing.
Yeah.
Do you have any embarrassing language moments? I ask this to everyone I interview because I have many.
I think the last time I didn't know the word for adopting a child, so I said buying a child, and then my friend was like, "What do you mean?"
Oh my goodness, Shane, that's very cute. But that's such a wonderful way to learn, isn't it? Because then you remember that incident, you're like, oh, I'm never going to make that mistake again.
Yeah, because usually when I don't know the word for something, then I try to describe it, but in this case, it was a little bit wrong.
Oh dear. So you speak Dutch, and I speak Afrikaans. So I was wondering if we could test and see how well we can understand each other.
Oh, dat is goed.
Okay, sal ons probeer.
Ja, dat is goed.
Okay, so ek het gehoor, Nederlandse mense sukkel om Afrikaanse mense te verstaan, maar Afrikaanse mense verstaan Hollandse mense beter?
Oh, dat weet ik niet. Ik kan je wel verstaan en ik kan het soms ook lezen. Ja. Soms schrijf jij dingen in je Instagram post in het Afrikaans en dan kan ik dat wel lezen.
Oké, ja.
Maar misschien is het ook wel iets wat afhankelijk is van het accent.
Ja.
Ik weet niet of er veel accenten zijn.
Ja, ek dink Vlaams en Afrikaans is nader aan mekaar.
Does it mean it's similar or it's different?
Yeah, Flemish and Afrikaans are closer than Dutch and Afrikaans, I believe.
Dat zou kunnen.
Wat?
Dat zou kunnen.
Kunnen.
That's possible.
Possible.
That could be possible.
Wow, what do we say for possible? Moontlik.
Mogelijk, ja. Dat zou kunnen.
I've never heard that.
That could be. Literally, that could be.
We say dat kan wees. Okay.
Oh.
Interessant.
Ja.
En is jy half Turks en half Hollands?
Nee, ik ben volledig Turks.
Oh, regtig?
Ja. Maar ik ben geboren in Nederland en ook hier opgegroeid.
Oh, so praat jy Turks met jou male?
Yes.
Wow, that's amazing.
I try to talk Turkish, but at some point there are some words that I only know in Dutch. Let me see if I know some examples. Usually those things are jargon, and then I think, how do you say this in Turkish? And my mom doesn't know it either, so we usually talk a mix of Turkish and Dutch.
That's amazing. But yeah, in my family as well, we are fully Afrikaans, but since we grew up overseas, sometimes it sounds unnatural to say something in Afrikaans. So I remember when we were children, so I have 2 brothers, we would only have one computer, right? It was like back in 2005. And we'd have this thing called computer privacy. So we wouldn't want our brothers or our siblings to bug us when we're on the computer. And we're like, geef my computer privacy. And you can't really say that in Afrikaans. Geef my rekenaar privaatheid. So we would mix languages all the time as well.
But you said that you're a native speaker of English?
So I consider...
But your parents are African.
Yeah, so I consider myself bilingual because we're a fully Afrikaans family, but we grew up overseas and I've only ever been to English schools. So I've never had an education in Afrikaans, and it's actually very difficult for me to do like academic stuff in Afrikaans.
Yes, that's also really hard for me. For example, if I have to explain my job, my job in healthcare technology to my family in Turkey, then I think, you know what, let's do this in English because it's really hard in Turkish.
Wow, yeah.
I cannot find the words.
How do you keep up with all the languages you're learning, and do you have a language learning schedule?
I have one theory, at some point when you speak so many languages, then it's hard to speak them every single day. I'm now able to express myself in 7 different languages. I'm not gonna speak 7 languages with everyone, because that would mean that I would need at least 7 different people who are speaking all these languages to me every single day. So I prioritize these languages. For example, when I know that I'm going to meet my Mexican friend after 1 month, then I'm focusing this month entirely on Spanish, and I give less priority on the other languages that I'm learning. When it comes to schedule, I always try to keep a certain time at the day where I'm only focusing on learning that language. It depends on the day, but I usually try to spend at least 20 minutes a day. And when you try to do this every single day at a specific moment, and every day it's on the same time, then it's becoming a habit, and
Yes.
it doesn't feel like an extra activity.
Have you never felt overwhelmed and sort of feeling like you're ignoring the other languages or not progressing fast enough in them?
It depends. Sometimes, when I look back at my French, now I'm not speaking French anymore. So sometimes I think, oh my God, I'm forgetting words. But when I'm talking with a native speaker for approximately 1 hour, everything comes back, and then I think, oh yes, I can still speak it. You never really forget languages, but sometimes you need to refresh it. But yeah, sometimes I feel guilty about it, that I'm not progressing as fast as I want. But the thing is also, I'm doing this just for fun. So
Exactly.
if I would do it for a purpose, then I would be really depressed, I think.
Yeah. I think for us, like online polyglots, there's a lot of pressure on us to keep showing progress. And especially with Hungarian, I've received a lot of messages from people saying, like, when are you giving us a Hungarian update? And, I'm preparing for the Japanese test at the end of the year now, and Hungarian is not a priority. And sometimes I feel really bad. But then I remember, I'm doing this for myself, and we don't always have to please people if it's just our own goals,
I can recognize that, because that was also with my Japanese. Once I decided to learn Japanese, and I was learning the alphabet and sharing my progress, I could say hello, how are you? But at some point I stopped, and people messaged me asking me, and how is your Japanese going? And I was like, oh, don't ask me this question. I don't know what to say.
I know exactly what you mean.
It feels like you're disappointing people.
It does. But then it's important just to remember, like, why we're doing it in the first place.
And then you will forget it, and people will get mad at you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah.
Is there any advice you'd want to give first-time language learners?
I think the most important thing is remember why you're doing this in the first place, because that's something you can use as motivation. That's also something I'm doing. It can be something very crazy. A crazy goal that I set for myself for Spanish was that I wanted to be able to understand the songs that I was listening to. Also, learning a language can be a very big project, so the most important thing is that you know what you want to focus on, because if you want to become fluent, what does fluency mean to you? Sometimes you don't even need to be able to talk about football and makeup stuff. You only need to be able to talk about yourself and your own interests. So focus on that particular thing, and then when you're able to talk about these topics, you can always expand.
So from your perspective and the languages you're learning, are a lot of them similar in the way that you can kind of understand a bit of words in both? And has that helped you? From my perspective, French and Spanish are similar enough to kind of get the gist of what someone's talking about?
Yes, because the languages that I've been learning are really similar: French, Spanish, and Portuguese. So especially as a beginner, you're like, hey, I know this word. But sometimes it can also be very confusing. For example, with my German, it's not very bad, but when I don't know a word, I tend to use a Dutch word instead, and I tend to pronounce it in a German way. And then Germans are like, what do you mean? What does it mean?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's also really confusing.
So in my case with Afrikaans and Dutch, I don't speak Dutch at all, but we saw earlier, like, we can communicate pretty fine. And I'm actually intimidated to learn Dutch because of my accent. I would be speaking Dutch with a completely Afrikaans accent. And we only have D. We don't have het in dat or het in de. We just have D. And I never know which one to use. Because they're so similar, I choose not to learn Dutch. And I feel too scared to learn it because I would mess up the pronunciation completely.
Yeah, I understand that. Sometimes it's easier to learn a language that it's not related to one of the languages you know because of the pronunciation, because of the word choices and all the other things.
But I guess with full immersion it would be possible. I have some Afrikaans friends who moved to Holland and they were completely immersed, and now when they come to South Africa they just speak Dutch.
Yes.
So, in closing, do you have any short-term and long-term language goals right now? What are you focusing on now? And what can we expect to see from you in the future?
Right at this moment, I'm focusing the most on my English because I want to improve my pronunciation. For me, it's something big. You know, when I reduce my accent, I can finally be proud of myself. I can finally listen to myself, and I'm also making videos, so I have to watch and listen to myself, and you know, it gives me more self-confidence when I know that I say things that make sense and people can understand me. But in the future, I want to pick up Brazilian Portuguese again. I want to learn some other South American languages.
Cool.
Because I'm really interested in the South American culture.
Wow.
I want to improve my Spanish way more. I'm thinking of picking up Jamaican Creole again.
Wow.
I also want to pick up Japanese again because I've never really learned a language with a different writing system.
Yes. So I will link your blog and your Instagram and your YouTube in the description so the people who are watching can take a look at that. And thank you so much for your time today. Do you have anything else you want to add or ask?
No, thank you for having me.
It was awesome to meet you. Thanks so much.
Yes.
Okay.
Have a nice day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.